The small home that gets both right simultaneously is something rarer and more difficult, and considerably more worth living in than either extreme. Here is exactly how to find that balance. The foundation of a warm, sophisticated small home is a palette that most people have seen and recognized immediately as right, and then struggled to replicate, because the specific tones that read as both warm and sophisticated occupy a narrow band between two failures. Too warm and the palette tips into rustic, amber and terracotta that feel more farmhouse than considered. Too cool and the warmth disappears entirely, leaving sophistication without comfort. The tones that work are the ones that sit precisely between these two poles. Warm ochre that leans slightly muted rather than saturated. Tobacco brown that has enough gray in it to feel architectural rather than earthy. Dusty terracotta that has been quieted to a point where it reads as neutral rather than bold. Warm charcoal that carries amber rather than blue in its undertone. These are colors that the eye recognizes as warm before the brain analyses them, and that the brain reads as sophisticated once it does. The palette begins here, with one of these tones as the dominant, and builds everything else in relation to it. The most common failure in warm, sophisticated interiors is the accumulation of warmth to a point where the room feels heavy rather than inviting, where the amber tones, the dark wood, the warm textiles, and the low lighting combine into something that presses rather than holds. Warmth layers correctly when each element contributes one specific quality rather than competing to deliver the same thing. The wall color provides the dominant warm tone. The wood, in furniture and floor, provides warmth through material rather than through color. The textiles, linen and wool in the specific warm cream of undyed natural fiber, provide warmth through texture rather than through additional color. And the lighting provides warmth through temperature, not through adding another warm tone surface. When each element occupies its own lane of warmth delivery, the layers add depth without heaviness. The room feels warm because warmth is present everywhere, and sophisticated because no single element is working too hard to be the source of all of it. Certain materials communicate warm and sophisticated simultaneously, not because they are expensive, but because their specific physical properties carry both qualities within them without requiring design intervention to produce either. Aged brass is the most reliable of these. Its warmth comes from color, the specific amber gold that catches light differently from every angle, and its sophistication comes from patina, from the quality of a material that has aged into depth rather than remaining uniformly bright. Aged brass hardware, aged brass lighting, aged brass accents throughout a small home create a thread of warmth and sophistication that ties every room together without imposing a style. Warm walnut occupies the same territory in wood, darker and richer than pale oak, warmer and less formal than mahogany, carrying in its grain a quality of amber depth that communicates both warmth and considered choice. And natural stone, travertine and warm limestone specifically, brings a quality of cool permanence that prevents the warm palette from tipping into softness, providing the sophisticated counterweight that stops warmth from becoming casual. The single variable that most determines whether a warm palette reads as cozy or as sophisticated is lighting, specifically the color temperature and the placement of every light source in the room. Warm tones under cool lighting look flat and slightly off, the warmth of the color fighting the coolness of the light until neither wins. Warm tones under excessively warm, orange-tinted lighting look rustic, the amber of the light amplifying the amber of the walls until the room feels like a candlelit tavern rather than a considered interior. The specific temperature that makes warm tones read as sophisticated is 2700 K, warm enough to enhance the palette without amplifying it, cool enough to preserve the clarity that sophistication requires. At this temperature, warm ochre walls glow rather than burn. Aged brass catches the light with precision rather than blending into general warmth. And the natural linen on the sofa reads as warm cream rather than as yellow. Position matters equally. Low sources at human height create pools of light with shadow between them, depth that reads as sophisticated. Uniform overhead brightness reads as warm at best, functional at worst. The sophisticated warm room is never uniformly lit. Every warm, sophisticated interior needs one element that is not warm. A single cool accent that sharpens the palette rather than softening it further, that provides the contrast the eye needs to appreciate the warmth around it without canceling the warmth it is there to complement. The cool accent in a warm, sophisticated small home is never a bold, contrasting color. It is a material or a tone that introduces coolness at a level the room can absorb. A single piece of dark green velvet in a room of warm amber tones, its coolness sharpening the surrounding warmth without competing with it. A section of aged pewter or brushed steel among the brass, its silver gray providing the one cool note that makes the brass read as warm rather than as simply metallic. A single piece of dark lacquered furniture in a room of natural materials, its precision providing the counterpoint that stops the naturalness from feeling unresolved. The cool accent is the reason the warm, sophisticated room does not feel like a warm room. It is the note that makes everything else around it make sense. Sophistication in a warm interior is not achieved by adding more sophistication to the warmth. It is achieved by removing warmth from spaces where it is not needed, by exercising a restraint that allows the warmth present to feel chosen rather than defaulted to. The warm, sophisticated room does not cover every surface with warm-toned objects. It leaves the shelf partially empty so that the warm ceramic that remains on it can be fully appreciated. It does not drape every seat with warm textiles. One will throw on one chair, in the specific position where it will be reached for and used, communicates warmth more effectively than throws on every surface simultaneously. And it does not use the warm palette on every wall, one wall painted in the dominant warm tone, the others in a neutral that allows it to speak, creates a room that uses warmth with precision rather than abundance. The restraint is not minimalism. It is editing. The specific discipline of removing warmth from surfaces that do not need it, so that warmth on the surfaces that do remains visually powerful. The living room is where the warm, sophisticated palette is most completely tested, because it is the room that contains the most surfaces, the most furniture, and the most opportunities for the balance to tip toward either extreme. The anchor is a sofa in a warm neutral, the specific warm cream of undyed linen or the soft amber of a natural wool weave, generously proportioned and correctly scaled for the room. Against this anchor, the warm palette builds in layers, a rug in warm amber and dusty rose, its pattern quiet enough to function as texture rather than statement. Aged brass lighting at two heights, providing depth through multiple sources. One warm walnut side table with the grain visible and the finish matte rather than glossy. And on the wall, one piece of art in warm tones that was chosen because it creates a specific feeling rather than because it fills the space. Nothing competes. Everything contributes. The room is warm because every element carries warmth in its own specific way, and sophisticated because none of them is carrying more than its share. The bedroom is where the warm, sophisticated palette produces its most intimate effect, and where the restraint principle becomes most important, because the bedroom's function demands that warmth serve rest rather than stimulation. Deep, warm linen bedding in the specific tone of undyed natural flax, not white, not cream, but the particular warm neutral that is neither, on a low bed frame in warm walnut or in linen-upholstered warmth. One warm amber lamp on each side at reading height, their brass bases catching the 2700K light with the precision that aged brass always provides. A single warm-toned textile on the chair in the corner, the wool throw in dusty amber or warm terracotta that provides the room's one moment of deliberate color. And walls in the muted warm tone that makes the room feel enveloping rather than expansive, containing rather than opening, which is precisely what the bedroom requires. Warm here is not decorative. It is functional, the specific quality of color, material, and light that tells the body it is safe to rest. The kitchen is where the warm, sophisticated palette faces its most practical test, because the kitchen must be functional first, and warmth that interferes with function is not sophisticated. It is simply inconvenient. The warm, sophisticated kitchen solves this through material rather than color, letting the warmth come from the surfaces themselves rather than from paint, so that the kitchen can be light enough to work in and warm enough to be beautiful. Warm walnut open shelving against walls that are warm white rather than stark white, the specific off-white that carries amber rather than blue in its undertone. Aged brass tap and hardware providing the warm metallic thread. Natural stone countertop in warm travertine that is both functional and genuinely beautiful. And ceramic vessels in warm earth tones on the open shelves. The objects that are used daily and happen to be the most beautiful things in the room. The warm, sophisticated kitchen looks like it was designed for someone who cooks, values beauty, and refuses to choose between them. There is a threshold that every warm interior must cross to become sophisticated, and it is crossed not in the large decisions about wall color and furniture, but in the finishing details that most people address last, and some never address at all. The difference between a warm, sophisticated room and a room that is simply brown comes down to three things consistently. First, the quality of the metallic. Aged brass that has been chosen for its specific patina rather than generic gold hardware that could have come from anywhere. Second, the quality of the ceramic. Hand-thrown vessels with visible evidence of making, slight asymmetry, varied glaze, the specific character that manufactured objects cannot replicate. placed where they will be noticed rather than where they will fill a gap. And third, the quality of the textile edge. The linen that has been hemmed rather than raw-edged, the cushion whose cover sits with the precision of something made properly, the throw that has been folded with one deliberate intention rather than draped without thought. These details are not expensive. They are attentive, and attention, in the warm, sophisticated interior, is what separates the rooms that stay with you from the rooms that were simply warm. Subscribe for a new interior video every week. And tell me in the comments, does your home currently lean too warm or too cold? And which room is hardest to get right?